Hi, it's Carrie Kerr with Child's Nature. For our early intervention language group this week, we are on week 5, and we're going to talk about time delay strategies. This is a concept I feel like parents typically struggle with, and we usually brush over it pretty fast, but it's such an important strategy. I wanted to make a video to give you guys a little bit more guidance on how to use time delay strategies. So where we're at is if we've done everything we've been working on learning and we're still not getting that language out of our kids, then what? So a lot of you guys say that to me, well, I'm doing all of these things. I'm engaged with my child. I'm expanding their play skills. I'm mirroring and mapping new play. I know my child's target, and I'm modeling that target, and I'm expanding that target, but my child's still not saying anything. So this is where we use our first strategy, which is a time delay strategy. And by doing so, hopefully we'll draw some language out of our child. As parents, it's our inclination to help our child immediately. We anticipate their needs, we read their cues, and we go ahead and jump in and help them when we see they need help with something. And that's our instinct, and that's a good thing. But when we're trying to grow language, we need to scale back on that a little bit and not be so quick to jump in and help them. We want to kind of set up a context where we challenge them to step up to the language demand and draw that language out of them a little bit. So a time delay strategy, what is that? It's a nonverbal strategy for helping draw language out of our kids. And it kind of speaks for itself, time delay, but how are we going to use it, and what are the different ways to use it? So the first one we're going to talk about is inadequate portions. This is a really easy one because we can use it during snack time, which is very common occurrence throughout your day. So we want to find time delay strategies that we can use naturally. So if it's snack time, we can give an inadequate portion. Say we're having veggie straws and my child naturally would get, or typically would get, just the whole thing, or maybe you give a handful of them, and instead I'm just going to give one veggie straw. And by doing so, I'm forcing my child to kind of come up with using language to request more, or using language to get that need met. And if my child's target is pointing, then maybe they point, I just wait and kind of look at them in a nice sabotage kind of way, or playing dumb kind of a way, like, what is it you're wanting? I don't understand. And they might point and, oh, you want more. Or maybe it's a single word we're looking for and they say more, and then we say, oh, you want more. So by not automatically giving them that thing that they're expecting, that's a time delay, by giving inadequate portions. Another one would be assistance. Same thing with the same activity. We could, prior to that, they gesture for it, but we give it to them, but it's not open. And so they have the time delay of not automatically opening the snack bag, waiting for them to verbally request help or point to it if that's their goal, or use a 2-word phrase if that's their goal. So creating situations where they need assistance. Another one might be bubbles. And so they want to play bubbles, and I put the top on really, really tight. I do this with a lot of different things. Whatever we're playing with that they would typically be able to get open, I screw it on really tight, and then that forces them to have to come to me and request something. And I might be like, if they just hand it to me, I'm not going to automatically open it. I'm going to wait until they either say, oh, for open, or point to open, or maybe their target is a sign, and so they sign open. But whatever the child's target is, I want them to make that attempt before I jump in and help. So that's time delay of requiring assistance. Waiting with routine. This is another one. And so maybe we are playing, and I have trains, and I've already modeled a bunch of times how we're going to play with this toy. So bear in mind, before you can ask them to expect them to use language using time delay, they really have to know what you're expecting from them. It's not fair to use time delay if they don't know what the expectation is. And so I'm going to spend a little time first creating a placing that has a routine to it. So we're going to practice, say our target is a single word, and we want the child to make an attempt at that single word. So we're going to practice the word in. In, in, in. They're in. Let's do it again. And I'm going to teach them what the expectation is. In, in. Now the child wants a turn, and I'm going to maybe time delay, sabotage it, cover it up. What does the child think he or she has to say in order to do this? Obviously, it's going to be in. I've modeled it enough times that they know what the expectation is. I'm going to use that time delay and wait, and then maybe they just look at me and I just give it a second, and maybe they say in, and in, and then they get that turn. So time delay forced them to use the language I'm wanting. So that would be a routine. And then another one might be something a little bit more common. Say it's when you're getting dressed in the day and it's time to leave, and so you're putting shoes on. Child hands you a shoe, you put it on. The child hands you the other shoe. Naturally, as a parent, you're inclined just to put it on for them, but this time you're going to wait. And you're just going to see, they're going to look at you like, why aren't you just putting my shoe on? Mom, you got to put the shoe on. Because that's a routine, and they know that's how it goes. Every day you sit down, you put the shoes on. First you put on one, then you put on the other. But if you deliberately don't automatically put on the next shoe, that might help them draw that language out by encouraging them to say shoe or on or point to their foot, whatever the target might be. So just waiting in a routine, such as bath time or getting dressed or meal time or bedtime, waiting for whatever would be next, and they know that's the next thing, that would be another opportunity to use time delay. So we're going to practice that this week during group. I'm going to go around and look for opportunities when you can use time delay. Remember, they have to know what the expectation is before you use time delay. If they have no idea what you're asking for, if I get out Play-Doh and I've never modeled for them before what I want and I just hand it to them, I've seen a lot of parents do this, and so maybe the child signs please. Well, that's a nice attempt. Like I would think that's a fair request. But what the child is, or what the parent is expecting is open. But the child has no idea that what you want them to say is open. You have to practice that over and over again before you can expect them to hit that target. They're not mind readers, so they don't know what you're wanting. So maybe instead I first open, and we take a little bit out, and I give a little bit to them, and that's an inadequate portion thing too. I can put the top back on and make it hard again. Hand it to them. They try to get it off. They can't. I'm going to model it first. Open. Give it a little bit more. Now they should know, maybe I do it one more time, but they should know now that what I'm wanting from them is to say open, or to sign open. And so now I hand it back. They try to get it off. They can't. My expectation is that they say or sign open, and they know that because I've modeled it a bunch of times. So make sure your child understands the target before you start using time delay. So we'll practice that this week. I hope it makes sense, and we can talk about it more if it doesn't. Thanks, guys.